Okay, so it's important on data sufficiency questions to stop ourselves when we know if we can solve it or not, if the information was sufficient or not to answer the question. So the question here is, how many of the numbers are greater than 30? And all the information we're provided in the question stem is that these four numbers average to 30, and they're four different numbers. Now, it doesn't say that they have to be integers, which makes things a little bit easier actually, because we have more options that we can work with. So I first want to turn that average into a sum total. And since I know we had four different numbers that were averaging to 30, all that means is the sum of the four numbers is 120, because 120 over 4 gives me 30. Now, based on that and using statement 1, which says none of the numbers are greater than 60, not greater than 60, can we come up with a conclusion about how many of the numbers were greater than 30? Well, I'm going to argue that we can't based on a couple examples. So if we had, for example, 31, 32, and 33, and then we had another number, obviously this other number is going to be have to be less than 30 to balance these other three numbers out, which add up to 96, meaning of the 120 that we have to total to, we are still looking for 24. So X has to be 24, which means we'd have one number that was less than 30 and three numbers that were greater than 30. So it's possible to get 3 as our answer to how many numbers are greater than 30. But it's also possible to say, okay, what if it was 29, 28, 27, and then another number? Well, in this example, we would add up to 84, since we are missing 6 from 30 total. And that means that we need an additional 36 to balance it out to average to 30. So X would then be 36, and we'd have 1 as our answer to how many numbers were greater than 30. So looking at this, I can see this pretty quickly that this is going to be insufficient. I don't know if I'd even write out these numbers, because I think I can actually, just looking at the situation, thinking about it for a second, say, okay, if I make things really close to 30, I can set a few of them below or a few of them above and easily balance them out without ever going above 60. So there's more than one situation, which means it's definitely insufficient. All right, looking at statement 2 on its own, 2 of the 4 numbers are 9 and 10. Okay, so we have 9, 10, and then 2 other numbers. Well, that tells me of the 120, 19 is taken up by 2 numbers, which leaves 101 for the total of X and Y. Now, we can't use the information from statement 1 because we're evaluating statement 2 on its own. So it's possible that we could have 101, in which case only one of the numbers would be over 30. Or we could have 50 and 51, in which case we'd have 2 numbers that were greater than 30. So I could either get 1 or 2 numbers greater than 30, which means it's not sufficient to tell me exactly how many numbers were greater than 30. Now let's take these 2 situations together. Statement 1 says none of the 4 numbers is greater than 60. Statement 2 says the first 2 numbers are, or 2 of the numbers add up to 19. They're 10 and 9. And so if we look at this, we say, okay, we have 10 and 9, X and Y, and we have to add up to 120. We already have 19 of it, so we need 101, but none of the numbers can be greater than 60. Okay, is it possible to make one of these less than 30? Well, in order to add up to 101, if I maximize the value of X, it could be 59, which is not greater than 60, which would leave me with how much for the other number? Okay, this is going to end up being, borrow a 1, and then we have 2, and we have 42. So I would get 59 and 42 adds up to 101. 2 numbers greater than 30. Can we make it 1 number greater than 30? Well, in order to lessen the second number, we'd have to increase the first number, And that's not possible because we've already maxed the first number out. It can't get any bigger. So we'll never have a smaller number to add to it. Both of these numbers will have to be greater than 30 based on these two rules, which means the answer to our question is the number 2. And that means that C is the correct answer choice.